Scary encounter with a real-life predator. So this is not a story that I normally share as it still makes my skin crawl to this day, but here goes. My mom used to be a nanny for a very wealthy family back when I was a kid. The parents of the kids preferred that my mom watch the children at their home and compromised in allowing her to bring me with her to work since she had no one to take care of me at home. During the years, my mom acquainted herself with their housekeeper but always kept a distance because the lady seemed a little off, but my mom is so damn nice that she gave everyone a chance. Well, as the years go by, this housekeeper lady constantly begins to tell my mom that I was such a beautiful young girl and so smart etc. blah blah blah. She then begins to mention her son more frequently, in which case my mom would change the subject because we had an idea where the conversation was going, but this woman was relentless. This lady would always say how her son loved to write and to draw and how handsome he was, but she wouldn't share much more than that, and to be frank we could care less. Mind you, I was only 13 at this time. My mom asked her bluntly one day after becoming uncomfortable with the constant flaunting of her son, "Why do you keep mentioning your son around my daughter? Are you trying to set them up or something, because she's too young for any relationship if that's the case?" Housekeeper lady became defensive immediately and said something along the lines that she had a right to talk about her son whenever she wanted to and was allowed to talk about his amazing talents, which I guess was true. My mom and I digressed and thought maybe we were overreacting, so we tried to not let it bother us again. Fast forward 2 months and the craziest/scariest thing happened. It was a weekend around 8 or 9 p.m. and I remember being at my dad's house because I spent weekends with him and my half-siblings. My mom calls my dad crying and terrified and told him to make sure I didn't leave his sight and to be on high alert. She said she called the cops because a man came knocking on the door asking for me. She said this man looked no younger than 30 years old. She expressed how she was angry at first thought, thinking that I'd been talking to this man behind her back. So she asked, "Who are you?" and his response was, "Oh, it's me, housekeeper lady's son. Your daughter and I have been talking." She gave my mom her number so that we could text, and we are supposed to be catching a movie and dinner tonight. My mom immediately knew he was lying and began shouting for him to leave. She knew very well that I'd never talked to this guy in my entire life, let alone agree to go out with him. He continued to hound my mom and became irate, insisting that we had a date planned for that night. Luckily my older brothers were visiting with my mom and called the cops, then confronted him, which almost led to a physical altercation, but the guy fled to his car and got away before cops came, and coincidentally housekeeper lady never showed up again at my mom's job either. The only explanation we have as to how he could have found my mom's home is that his mom followed her after work or something of that nature, as my mom never shared that kind of information with anyone. Fast forward again to less than a year from that incident, and my mom has a day where she's completely shaken, like something I'd never seen in her before. Turns out this lady's son was 37 years old. He got caught violently R-wording an 11-year-old little girl from our community, rural town, and was sentenced to 28 years in prison. This guy had an ugly record and was clearly on the hunt for someone young and vulnerable, and his evil mother enabled his behavior. Although my mom did report the creep's mom to the cops the night her son came looking for me, we have no idea what ever came of that lady. I just wish the guy would have been caught before ever being allowed to lay hands on a poor innocent girl, and I can't help but think that he would have most likely done that to me had the circumstances allowed.